So I'm going to trade 8 pairs next week, and I'm going to trade 3 styles on 8 pairs, bidirectional. And I'm going to use a bar chart with a closing price on top in white, and I've got the ATR set to, or the PIP, horizontal PIP gauge is set to 50 pips on this thing. And here's the challenge. So somebody wanted to do some challenge, so I'm trying to post this. I'm going to need one more screen to post the EA running in the background. I wish I could have it run without messing up the symmetry. I think it runs on the hidden bar, but I love the 8 panel. When I was did videos a long time ago live, I had 8 screens like this, and I never swung traded too much, or trend. I was always scalping because I just want to hit it and quit it. But this situation here, I have a somebody else will be trading the account with me, so if something goes terribly wrong, it's obviously the other person's fault. Now, I wanted to make it so that it's hard to. I wanted to set parameters that are just simple. Anybody could copy our magic formula, and it basically consists of 3 trade plans, 6 actually, 6 trade plans. And so it's going to either be a buy or a sell. It's either going to have a 25, a 50, or a 100 pip stop. It's going to double your money. Designed to double your money. The 50 stop's going to make 100. That's the trend trade. The swing trade is the 100 pip stop to make 200. And the scalp is the 25 pip stop to make 50 pips. In the kind of ingredient of placing the orders at the precise levels. And the orders are going to last one day. So they cancel, not to say you can't add orders during the day, but to get it started, if you just place one order a day on 8 pairs, and you can also bail on the whole trading plan. Now, at that moment right there, like the first pending order that you place is you're saying, I think this is a good place to get in. And instead of putting a trend line there, you could place the pending there if you don't think you're risking, Now, the size of each ticket is certainly up to the flavor of the individual, but, if the market's screaming down into your buy limit and you're like, yeah, this, I think it's going to, I delete, when I see a market screaming down into a bank, I delete and I wait, and if I see it drop another 25 pips, I just buy one at the market with a wide stop. Now, that wouldn't be happening in this account. What would happen here is you would take that, and it's all pending drops in here, so you can't really, you have to make a choice. You can't just press a button. You have to drag over the order and place it on the screen, on the chart. And this way, you always have this, you always know you can do the scalp trade for 25 pips, and you can put more of those orders in because, whatever your allotment of risk per day. And you just set it, it's dominoes. You set it and forget it, walk away. Come back. If you didn't get any fills, then either you put your orders too far away, and maybe it's okay you didn't get a fill. Because you don't see a setup, or you don't see a strategy that you can use. Now, since I'm going to go 3 strategies, and each order it's designed for that trade plan. This way you have simplicity out of the gate, and then, if you're not getting enough frequency of trading, you would just put more orders on more pairs. And now if you, on top of that, and maybe you don't want to do it because you want to test drive the whole demo and see how it drives like that, before you add on another layer of complexity, and just by saying that you would put in orders that last 4 hours or 1 hour super tight to the market to pick up little flash crashes would be a whole different maybe you want to run that on a different demo. That concept alone, because that is a maybe a 4-hour world, and this would be a daily in a 4-hour world on the swing scalp thing, because you can scalp off the daily chart. See, now people say, "Wow, you're scalping that?" Like, and people think scalping exists on a 5-minute chart, which is totally ridiculous, because you can see the high probability scalps on the dailies right at the edge of the wick of previous support. Like, look at the Australian dollar here. All these are scalps with a 25 pip stop. This is a 50 pip grid. You're going to make 50 pips with a 25 pip stop on the Australian dollar all the beginning of the last month. And all you have to do, and this is the difficult part, you got to go and place an order right here with maybe a few, and you scalp out, and every day you just keep putting the same order in. Okay, yeah, the sell limit's here. Yeah, you might get blown out, but you've made money for how many days in a row in both directions. You made 100 pips. At the end of the week, you're up, what is this? I don't know, 300 pips? Market went nowhere. Sell limits. The scalps here, the swing trades here, the trend trades here. You're in a downtrend. All three tickets come in. You make your 200 pips to here. You just made so much money there, you could actually fuck up another trade. So I think everybody can see the entries based on if everybody's following my ridiculous rants and my angry. I don't know. I guess it's a terrible thing to get upset like that. But I don't know. I'm just so frustrated. I'm just so amazed that, isn't it? If you put a child in front of this monitor and said, "Johnny, what do you think's going down? Come here, little Johnny." And he's like, "You mean what white line's pointing down?" Yeah. Oh, these two guys. And now this is, I went the extra mile on this platform setup. I just didn't throw these tiles up here randomly, I had to consult the inner circle. And what it comes down to is I try to put the majors on the top and I put the minors on the bottom. And I really wanted to include the euro to the yen to complement the fact that I'm going against the dollar here, and this kind of it's against the yen. I want to have at least 2 yens on here, and these guys are in sync. These guys are in sync. These guys are not in sync, and these guys are a mirror image on the left. So this is your typical. If you're getting a buy here, you're getting a sell here. So you trade both trades. And you may not get filled on some of these. But on the daily chart, okay, you could trade 8 pairs on a daily chart. On a 5-minute chart on each of these guys? No. On a 5-minute chart on one pair with your finger on a hotkey, scalping big, you just made $50. You just made $100, right? It's going to take you to make $100, $300 here, or 200. I'm sorry, yeah. What's to make 200 pips here, whatever that comes out to. How many tickets you put in there? 300 pips for range nonsense. Even here, you got range nonsense bullshit. British pound. Fuck the trend. That's so funny to say that. You got buy limits here. Even if you got stopped out of your scalps, you're still in your swing trades. You got a 100 pip stop on that swing trade. Almost make your 200. Your 50 pip stops never got stopped out. I can't think of a simpler way to trade. Here, if you, I can't see what happened internally if they spiked that up and came back, but it looks like it did. I'm not going to worry about that so much. And you could run buy stops on top. You can still have swing trade. As soon as you place the order on top, we could just run single drops on this one. Not going to do the fancy rebuilt. Later on, we could. I didn't want to overcomplicate the demo because I wanted to keep a strict. I guess this is where the discipline comes in. You need like I guess a nun with a ruler. I'm thinking a hot nun with a ruler, but this is what people talk about. Wait for the market to come to you. So if you have a buy limit here, you're waiting for the market to come to your limit. You've got the 50 stop, you got the 25 stop, you got the 100 stop. All three trades win. It's a trend trade, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a scalp to get out of the gate to pad the account, to get the account built up. And then you could put more orders in. But I wouldn't change I wouldn't change a thing as far as I might put say, well, risk 75 pips to make 150 pips or something like that. Intermediate, but certainly I would say risk 100 to make 300 if you wanted to say, you know what, look at this weekly setup. Now, everybody can see this shit forming. I can't even believe how complicated people want to make trading. And I guess that's where the anger comes from. Every time I go online, I'm like, nobody would do this to a piece of music. It's like taking a piece of music, a guy's playing this beautiful instrument, and you put reverb on there, and you put chorus on there, and then you put delay, and then you put auto-tune, and then you played it through speakers and recorded that on another mic, and then you just looped that, and then you made it into some bizarre sample, and then it just became noise. And people are like, well, yeah, and I'm like, yeah, but on 8 panels, I'm talking in terms of 8 currency pairs. What jumps out at you? There's only a few setups here. This is like goof trading. In fact, it's just goofy. And between that and people talking about what's the smart money doing, I'm like, what are you doing? It's what we're doing. Some guy sent in my comment there. Yeah, people love these. They love to belong to some trading society of, and then of course, not to mention, I don't know if these people are part of the clickbait out there that's just hysterical. There's a guy out there that's talking about, well, you can see the numbers. If you take that guy's name and then you convert it into numbers and then you do that and actually you look back and he's trying to cue all this stuff up and really stretch things to fit. I'm like, this is like putting a Gartley on your screen and going, I'm going to make this thing fit my Gartley somehow. I'm going to see it. Now, there's no Gartley on this. If you see a Gartley right now, it would be on closing prices because the wicks aren't giving you that. I don't even understand why these guys are doing Gartleys on wicks. I tried Fibonacci on closing prices, but honestly, I got an anxiety attack waiting for it to queue up. I couldn't hang. Could not hang. So this is the trade system. This is the competition. I don't know what this other guy's trading. Maybe he's scalping. He might beat me money-wise because he's sitting there with a crack pipe scalping. And so that could be why I lose this trading competition. But I think it's cute when all the sycophants step up to the plate. And when some guy wished me to die, he wished me to die. Die, Forex trader, die. Well, I am the sheriff of Forex. Thank you very much. I couldn't resist. My ego's too big. I'm too angry, and I know too much. And and when I go to coffee shops, I was at Starbucks the other day, and I noticed the barista kind of like cocked her head to the side like they're watching you now. It's like, whatever you need to say about the market, don't say it to me because I'm not listening. But that's why I don't have any friends. I think the guys in the band fired me because I would talk about the market, and they're like, yeah, because they're, I don't know, musicians. What are you gonna do? They're only good for the session there apparently, and then they also run away from us. They ran home. But yeah, this trading thing is a whole different gig. It's like driving down a road that you don't know what's coming next. But certainly there's, and the nice thing about the closing price is it's its own trend line. So if you went to the 4-hour chart, your trend line would probably look something like this. But people don't want to accept this move. It's a trend trader's but I'm buying into this thing, obviously. But this is another thing we're going to do. This is the other part of the trade plan. This is the one thing that's going to make it so that if we have a fixed stop, we know what we can risk here and how deep we're going to put the order. So if we try to sync these aren't quite synced. It's easier to do with the other grid. But since this has the most volatility, we have to sync to this one. So to keep everything in standard pip order, since we have a fixed trade plan, we have to fix the grid accordingly. So when we go place orders, we're not thinking, oh yeah, well this thing looks great on that. Yeah, it looks like a super plunge. When it's like this, you're like, holy shit, look at that. But you have to look at it pip for pip if your stop is at X pips on your trade plan. So this way, if you do want to trade the yen, also include it in your drama. And I'd be selling that if it goes higher. You can't see it on here. Now that's where you'd have to open this up, fix the grid, and do all that. But if you can see that if you had, we were trend trading this, and when I say, I guess I shouldn't say that the swing trade is a risk 100 to make 200. It's just that that is typically what people think about when they think about a stop is a wide stop, because you can swing trade it and trend trade it. But obviously when you're getting out at 50 pip profits with a 25 pip stop on a market that moves this brutally on these 50 pip rungs, so your kickback, you can already see here, if your buy limit's sitting here and you have a trailing buy limit and you have all three styles in there, the scalp, the swing, and the trend. I'm sorry, yeah, the swing is going to make 200 pips. Now, if you wanted to go the extra inch or mile, you would say, okay, there's more money in the account. Let's go to 125 pip stop to make double that, or maybe slightly more. And I wouldn't change the 25 to make 50. I wouldn't even, it's just not worth fucking with. If you're trading 8 pairs, there's going to be a setup that qualifies for that risk. Same could be said for and these can be stops and limits. So when you place the 100 pip buy stop version, it will just turn into a buy stop naturally. The single drops automatically switch gears for you, so you can trade right up on the market. They become market orders. If you drop a order right here in the middle of the lower range here, you're going to get filled even on a kickback here. So you're placing multiple, but they're gauged in, they are biased. They are, in other words, ratio is biased to make money in the direction of the trade. I mean, now that ratio there is the critical thing. Now, the greedy ratios, they don't show, you don't always get that. When the news comes out, if there's enough money in the account, you could run a 300 pip stop and get the fuck in here on this trade. Now, you'd have to realize that if you have a basket, once the account gets bigger, I'm just talking later down the road, you just start to beef up on, you're like, I'm buying this whole thing. You bought down there? Yeah. Where's your target? Oh, way up here. Now, that'd be on maybe a separate account, because say you're up, you just blew, you didn't blow the account up, you expanded the account so big, you're just going to cash out and retire that account, live off it for a little bit, open another account, or you got a scalping account. Now, what I have is a scalping account because my neuroses and my anger need, I need to scalp, or I'm gonna. If you think I get pissed off complaining about these so-called experts, then you should see when I don't get to scalp. So I got to have that tick chart, because I think I have a tick. After being in the institution, I've developed a tick. I keep blinking. And but you can see here that this is when people say stuff like, so I got this pip predator guy Too funny. Here's the daily. Look at this perfect setup. Double top becomes a bottom, becomes a bottom, becomes a bottom. Dead on. Everybody's in. Whoopsie daisy. But you're actually flat that account at this point. And even if you got in here on this so-called pullback, okay, they blew you out. If your orders are there, but what if you did have the knowing what the market's capable of in a smashback? This area wasn't filled properly. There was just too many. There's so much volatility in this sell-off. So hard in the rejection off of this top, this internal top. In that one moment in time, that happens on the smaller time frames. That is incredible. That's an incredible. It's the same thing that just happened over here. It's just a stretched out version. We smash down into this top. You're just gonna have to say, regardless of any other trends, this is in an uptrend. And mechanically trading this on entries, buy limits. Buy limits are filled. Buy limits are filled for 100 pip. So here you may have to have a 200 pip to make 400 pip. You may have to have 150. But if it's double your money, but this is a way to, I guess, pick better trades. People say, oh, you don't have to be right so much of the time. You know what? I just don't agree with that. I mean, I agree with it in terms of if your ratios are really good, but let's not forget there's commissions, there's spread. Every time you get in and out of a trade, and I've been so cheap sometimes when I'm in a position that I built up, I'm like, you know what? If I dump and reload, I'm going to have to repay the spread. I'm like, just let them stop me out. So that to me is like, I don't know if you've ever got anything in the mail and it sucks and they go, you can return that. And when you figure out the shipping to return that and the drama and the complaint, and you know what, just keep it. Use it for a doorstop. So we can't deny that if we're lazy and we want to make money from some signal service, or people say, hey, do you have that EA? And people are trying to build the EA because apparently they're lazy and they're not in denial. But and actually hand placing a grid every day down here, right? Maybe these are weekly orders. So certainly that's a pending exposure you may not feel comfortable with having. You mean you got, wow. And who's gonna on this day think, well, today's the data, news is coming out. Today's the day to just put outlandish orders, even sell limits, but they wouldn't have filled that day. They would have only filled this day. These sell limits would have deleted. So I'm just watching this guy again. Everything I hear this guy say, how it's like, oh yeah, do this. I'm like, dude, how do you accommodate this trade from your cell phone? And if you don't think people didn't make a ton of money on that had the backsight, yes, they did have hindsight vision. Hindsight's 2020. Who traded that? Wow. So that's going to be the system. These people want to see some trading, and my trading a guy you'll never meet, my trading partner. You see, he's under he's got a gag order. He's not allowed to talk about the trading system even in the coffee shop. He said people have been. He has to check his car. He has to look underneath his car every time he gets in it. His Lamborghini. Yellow. I'm just saying. But it used to be a tractor. It's a yellow tractor. Sorry, it's not a real Lamborghini. But that's the trick, people. I don't know that guy, the Indian trader guy. I think he's a liberal. He doesn't like Trump. So Yeah, what's the trade plan? Enough about that. What's the trade plan? Definitely gonna buy down in here. So would I go to the weekly on this stuff? I don't know. Do we have to? No. Fuck that. So you don't want to change time frame. It's not worth it. I'm just saying because if you change time frame right now, you're going to say, well, look at this. If we got in here, like, you know what? Well, let's just make some money this week. They don't need no fancy stuff here. So let's build a channel here. And then when you're done with this, maybe close down the program or take a screenshot of this stuff. And I should put the equidistant up here, but I'm just going to manually build. And you're only allowed to put this is the other discipline part. This is the other nurse ratchet part of it is you're just allowed to only draw what you see as far as peaks and valleys. You're only allowed to connect these, so you can't draw that many trend lines. You can't get carried away. So here's the we have uptrend, and then we break through and close below that. There's that big there was some kind of news came out, but this is where you need the backlash grid. You have to have your sell limits up there, and they may never get filled, but if they're constantly running there or looking for that capture, here you're probably scalped out of something, or you got crushed if you try to scalp into that. So this is a downtrend. This should be going uptrend. So you draw your first trend line off of here. You retest. Here's your entry at the 50-yard line. You have a confirmed uptrend. This is wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy to do Elliott wave count. If you're an Elliottician, closing prices where you should be. I'd stretch that out to, we can stretch these out too. If you're doing, ideally you fix the scale and then you drag these around, but then you're going to lose perspective of why you even drew these lines. So you can't get too zoomed in. I can't. And I can't process all that data. When I look left, I'm telling you, I just see all the trades I missed. I'll be honest with you, I'm like, oh God, jeez, fuck. Look at this. I just see all the terrain. So here, what you're looking for is a setup like this. In this channel, which I built off of this, we got to come back into that. But we're probably, the high probability thing is that we're going to buy first scalp off of that. So I'm thinking scalp on this first. I'm not thinking trend trade. I place all the scalps first. So you go in with the 25 pip stops to make 50. These are the, when you're playing a game of 8 ball or whatever they call it, pool, 9 ball. I think 8 ball, when you're using all the balls, you're just trying to get these balls, and whatever ball's near the pocket, if you're solids or stripes, that's how they do it, right? Some people put those balls right in the pocket because you got to get them out of the way, and they're right there. If you did a good break, and when the market breaks and the balls are just right near those scalps, you just want to pick up those scalps and go for the easy money first to pad your account so you can sustain a swing trade or another trade. And I know it seems, but this is if you're going to build an account. Now, if you got a ton of money, like this guy's bragging about, this guy, he's just ridiculous. This guy is so, every time I watch one of his videos again, the Pip Predator, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm gonna club this guy with a pip gun. I'm gonna get a pip gun and come after that guy. So this trading thing, and people are always mystified by trading. Can't believe it broke that trend line. Trend lines really do work on closing prices, people. Step away from the wicks. Step away from the candles. You're getting in here. You're buying at that. That's your buy zone. Inner circle trader. This is called inner trendline trader. Life simplified. That's right, people. You don't have to live with an MACD oscillator to buy. Is that a downtrend? I can't even get, but that's why I sync these guys up. This is the whole plan here. And I have 8 panels so that, let's face it, that's a Fibonacci number. Face it, embrace it, erase it. And here is the top become a bottom right there on closing price. This is where that, after those guys over in Power Trading make money, they go. And there we go, see? And that's even a fib ratio. Look at that. That's the 38.6 of that. How about fib channels? They do make fib channels. Let's copy. So I should just get out the damn... does it look like a channel ride? If there was no wicks and you could literally buy and hold to each swing, people say, man, you are just an amazing trader. But we can take advantage of the fact that they are going to stop hunt these puppies. So confirmed uptrend after this, we have buy limits. We don't want to run buy stops on a daily. You really don't. When you drop that order, you could put a limit in super tight, but your crop of limits has to be, and you even have them here. As long as your ratios are good, who cares that they blow that out? Now, you might want to change the ratios later on, but for the moment, this is where we're going to roll this puppy. Because just like you, I don't have the time to babysit this drama and these people with the up and down and That's why I always hated the trend trade, the idea that, well, here's our target. I'm like, do you realize how many, it's like the movie I just watched last night where they beat the shit out of each other. They go, dude, and I love how there's nothing wrong with them. I mean, the kind of punishment these people take in movies, I'm like, you realize you would have been dead after like about 5 of those hits? You'd be completely unconscious. What are people thinking? So if you were trading these opposite each other, you can see all the trades. Here's the top become a bottom on the daily. It's too. The reason why nobody sees it is because it's too obvious. It's like when you open the fridge and you can't find the fucking mustard. Yeah, because it's right in front of you. Top becomes a bottom. At least within that trend line. So this is a sweet spot. At the 50-yard line, you make your 100, you make your 200. Use all 3 scripts on that. Scalping along the way, you've got your sell limits on your sell scalps, your wick scalps. We'll just call it wick scalping. That's my new wickscalping.com site. So you put your sell limits are always running here. Even your intermediate profit and your swing profit, your trend profit. But here, you can't get any easier than this. If you're going to try to get on this uptrend, I'd say put buy limit down here for the moment because I don't see anything there. Here, I wouldn't run it by a stop. I don't see anything there. But here I'm going to be putting buy limits in. I don't know how much more they could push that. Here it's going to be buy limits, waiting for a fill. Better to have sell limits, waiting for the scalp fill, a little backlash off of that. I think it's scalpish. If it ever gets back up there. Hopefully you're long from this. You got in. Probably stopped you out of some of this if you really stepped in front of this. This is only 100 pip down. I really thought we were going to melt down into the abyss, but wah, wah, wah. Looks like we could still melt down. And this, how can you screw this up? Here's a trendline break right on closing prices. Very narrow look back. You don't want to look back. You don't. Do not open your photo album. Don't look back. There's a song, but wasn't that a song? It was great. Now you should see the sellers come in there. Maybe they will. Here I put sell limits for the scalp right here. Nothing you can do about that pivot. It does exist. In this window up here, so I expect I'm going to come up. Dollar's going to lose a little ground here. Pull it back. I want to get in there. This guy, I'm putting in the limits, aggressive for the bounce. They keep tanking, whatever. I think there's like a bunch of money in the account. Bad leverage on this account too. 101 leverage or something. But we're not going to use all that leverage. I'm going to try to trade like, we almost know what we're doing. And here it's like, wow, this thing's just up in midair here. I think maybe buy limits for scalps right on this pivot. But always the scalps first. Right here is where your buy limits are going to go. Just put a crop around here. They might punish you out. And then, of course, here's the wick entry. I'm going to put one there, buy limit. And then the deeper you go, the wider your stop. So when you're down here, you say you have the 50 to make 100, and this one you have the 100 to make 200 down at the bottom. And just stream them down there. You may not get filled, but you might. Because you got all these other working orders that could potentially fill that day. It's all about getting filled. The trading's really pretty disastrously boring. Here you'd be waiting for a fill. And it would only be for a scalp. I'd consider come back to this. And right now, you'd be putting sell limits up here, peppering up on the top of there. Time to scalp the top of that. I don't care what people say, honestly. This is if you touch this line a third time, you got two touches, you come wicking up into that, you want those scalps, you want the swing trade. Risk it. You're making money over in these other trades. You may not even get a fill. If you're too careful, you won't get a fill. And here, I don't think you're going to get filled next week. Next week, maybe on Wednesday, we come down to this price and bounce up, and then your exit's going to be the floor here. So if this does smash down below, but what if it retests that? I'll be buying right at this. This is a known bottom. So scalps and swings in here. Sells up on top, buy low, sell high. Pretty obvious. And you would think here, this could be the beginning of a big uptrend. But what do you think the chances are we're going to come back and have a battle at the breakout zone for the scalps? And if you put, so money management wise, if you're running 4 scalps, you've used your, if you use 4 scalps, it's as if you put 1 swing trade risk in there. If you use 2 scalps, as if you put 1 trend trade thing in there. And it doesn't have to, I'm just trying to make it, there's such thing as a 100 pip scalp, because the idea of a scalp is that you're just trading the wick. And if it's a weekly wick, that's kind of a scalpish style of trade. I mean, from the standpoint of you're getting an unfair value for quick and dirty money. And if the ATR is 1,000 pips and you have a 100 pip stop to make 200 pips, to me that's kind of a scalp. Isn't it a scalp? I don't know. And then what's the trend line to break? And then we're gonna have to wait for the market to unfold in front of us. So it'll give us the we'll just get this. We'll know right away. Whether we got filled, and at the end of the day, where are we at? So this thing's still going up. And I put sells up here. And I put them up on this. Project off of that. Probably won't get filled for a while, but the ones the closest to getting filled is going to be if this pulls back a little bit and we get in the scalp zone here, and we get scalped that 50 pip area, we have buy limits on these yellows. It comes in, then we chatter around, because the chatter, the range is going to be where we make our money. So for that weekly noise revenue, these kind of chops and these kind of chops, where and it's not a chop bot, but you're trading a chop system. You're trading range trading, even though it's an uptrend, you're still range trading it. So you're still treating this as a counter trend, taking advantage of the counter trend. When it blisters through like this, you're in a momentary trend. But as you can see, these things do not last. This is like a slow meltdown, but the void that's filling, this could crush down. This could be it. This could be the leading edge of the lights out for the yen. And who's on the leading edge? And there's plenty of here to worry about. I just wouldn't step outside this. I'm tempted to go to a different time frame. So that's the discipline. You don't want to switch time frames on that broker, on that system, on that simplicity of you can keep track of how you're blowing the account up too. So you knew this was in an uptrend. And what is the ultimate confluence entry here is the top becomes a bottom at or near the trend line. And here, like I said in the video, this is such a high velocity that it can hardly get back to, like, nobody even has a chance to, people are just freaking out. And besides, you're going into historical prices established a long time ago. You know, it's like Pearl Harbor's revenge here. It's been going on 75 years after Pearl Harbor. Here, getting revenge on it. I'm just joking. No offense to kamikaze pilots. But you have to trade like a kamikaze pilot. What I'm saying, you need a samurai attitude, like I'm willing to play all these pendings out there, and I have accepted the risk up front. At the end of the day, I know what we're risking. We come up with a number and see what happens, because I don't typically swing trade like this, 8 pairs, but as you can see, it's low frequency trading, but it's like it's more of a chess game in this mode than it is to be on a momentum entry where you're in the market for 30 minutes and you just made a decent amount of money, and the move's over. You know, it's just it's almost psychologically easier to think about. Certainly, if you're a person that is a long-term trader. I don't know how people do it, honestly, but hold a position for 10 days. But if you're that trader, you're on the daily chart. And you're waiting for the entry, or you're going to ride into that entry. I mean, you could probably ride the trend into, and this is where you become bidirectional. You see both people's argument. So when people are criticizing me on the internet, I laugh, because I'm like, I can see what you're saying, because you got your head up your ass. I can see what you're saying. But then I think to myself, no, they just want to act out just like that's their version of being angry. They're just, some people aren't as, that's the thing about comedy. You're just able to give it a backdrop. But the thing is that really serious when it comes down to trading, because the guys ask me, "What's your point, man?" Is that I'm trying to share the simplicity of how it's people are unsimplifying it, and they're getting caught in the maybe I should change the settings on my, and I did this. Okay, so I'm a recovering perfectionist. I sat there and tried to tweak an indicator and thought, the when I do a fast stochastic, I like that better than slow. Maybe I should run both just in case. So the just in case stuff is where the fear comes from, and this is where the fear of placing an order. It's scary to have a pending order out there, because you've basically said you're committing to this trade. You're exposing yourself to potential, like people might think they're going to be blackmailed. Like it's like blackmail. You got something out there lingering that if somebody triggers it and they blow it up, it's like parking your car in another town and then going home. That's kind of feeling it is. If I put an order in that's kind of outlandish, I might think, God, I don't even really. But isn't that the biggest winning trade? But the fear the fear of trading presents itself on to make it feel unfearful might be putting a pending order in that you're thinking, if they do fill that order, that's going to be a killer trade. And then actually, at the end of the week, you haven't had any fills, but as Mark Douglas will tell you all day long, that's money in the bank. Once you do get a fill, and if you're on 8 pairs, you should get some kind of fill. And if you see that you're trading too close to the market, and you know what, I got to give it more room. And so if you start the day with 4 tickets, and then as the market's unfolding during that day, you could drop orders that last a day. And realize that you got to keep track, a tally of, and then cancel the ones that don't look like you're like, you know what, now it's going so deep, I still want to get in on a limit. This is where you catch a falling knife manually. You're either going to throw a grid of orders down here right now in this currency pair to pick it up on a blind man grid, or you're going to sit there and keep putting 3 tickets right around the 50-yard line, all 3 strategies, all 3 risk plans, and then just keep on moving that up. They'll delete at the end of the day. So it's like bullfighting, right? You're holding and look at this insane down thing. And instead of buying at the market, you would just put a buy limit at the bottom of this day. This is the low you're looking to nick, and it's going to go the other way. You have to imagine what's going to happen tomorrow. Tonight, market opens. And that's all there is to it. So that's what it'll be like on the opening gate. And then I'm thinking if you put 8 scalps out there, so now you're risking, what is it, like $20? If you place scalps on every screen, you're risking $20. May not get filled on every order. So the one that qualifies is the one that fills, and it's the one it's in God's plan. It's the one that's supposed to fill. Because you don't know where the market's going. But you have this, you can see what other people think it's going, and the excitement, the irrational exuberance. But the simplicity of only having the ability, you can't even draw a trend line in this one yet. You can't even do it. You could estimate here, right? You could say, I'm going to go, like you could say, well, let's just kind of guess here. We're kind of like in some channel possibly, but it hasn't formed yet. Here was the top become the bottom there, and yes, not. This is screaming, but these guys agree. And if you miss this train, you're going to get filled on this train. This one got away from you, and maybe this is going to go up now, and this is going to pull back. You're getting filled on this guy. This guy's long now because you'd want to be long right now because it's turning up. You're holding through this. I wouldn't put a buy stop on there. I don't know. I put a buy stop. Yeah, I don't know. That's a buy stop, and I'll buy limit below. Because this is where it gets dicey. Do you want to get filled on that shitty price knowing that they'll probably pull it back later? Then you get out of that trade. I think they're going to retest this low easy. I think we can come back. Let them pop it up there. Just buy here. Because you probably, and then look for a closer to the markets out of these 8 guys looking for something that's. I'm going to go for these 2 out of the gate. This looks like the closest to fill. Running in front of this thing, like a bullfighter holding out that red blankie. I think that's the way to go here. And this could just get all wackadoodle. So maybe sell limits up here, buy limits below. But yeah, see what happens here, blow by blow. And that you're only looking to be in the market for 1 or 2 days. Just explosive moves like that. It's like 2 days hard up. Bam. I'm sure there's some crazy pullbacks. In fact, you can't even see inside this daily candle, this daily bar. It may have ricocheted all the way back to here. So during the day, you would replace your order at the buy limit. So what's weird is when you have a daily chart and you never switch time frames, you're like, holy shit, look at this thing. And you can see you're standing in a, this is where the discipline comes in. Don't change the time frame. Get another broker that trades that time frame and see that, okay, I don't know, just leave that swing trading account, leave that account alone. If you feel the need to switch time frames, open another, a demo. See how good you are trading at the 4-hour and 1-hour chart. Setups are going to come more frequent. And you can trade with tighter stop. Now you could sit there and trade at the market. Okay, I can see this thing. Buy one at the market, buy one on a limit. Let it go. I think I'm right, and then have the market come to you. Put a buy limit in. This is the thing. Put a buy limit in. They don't fill you within an hour, 2 hours. You're like, these fuckers. I can't believe they're making me overpay. Buy one at the market and watch, they'll come smack and fill you. Or whatever that psychological, it seems like that, right? It seems like the palm reader can tell your future. And your mind has an amazing way to do a perfect back test and find that, oh, yeah, I guess she's kind of right there. Yeah, I'm a little bit angry person. Which probably sense that when you what's a famous movie maker that said he was playing a fake psychic and he became a psychic. He says, these people are just good at reading people. Orson Welles learned how to be a fake psychic, and he says, after a while, I got really good at it. Had to stop doing it. I was upsetting people. Only because he wasn't psychically able. He was just reading people. Easy to read people. Or just, I guess, go with your first impression. I don't know. A lot of serial killers are very charming. But if you be overly charming, I guess you're in trouble also. So, but yeah, obviously, buying here on pullbacks, selling into that, what have you. We'll see what happens. We'll place these orders, and then nothing we can do. The market's closed right now. This one's trading is just so psychotically boring. Look at this retest, Ola. Man, look at this trade here. Even in this chart here, I can see all the trades I missed. Buy limit here. Buy limit on the stop out of that. 100 pip capture. Wowie zowie. Not a bad trade. And so if you're going to say that I'm a hindsight goober, you should be a hindsight goober, because that trade happens all the time. It happened over here. And you just can't believe that putting a buy limit in a previous top happens to be the place to make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. Making the money on this is going to be scalpish here. This isn't going to make the most money, and it's a surprise trades, the trades people do not see coming, that make all those pips. It's incredible. The wick entry. When I saw the hammer, I said I want to be the hammer. I want to sell the inverted hammer here. That's an inverted hammer. There's no way around it. It went up, went down. Here's a bullish hammer. You want to be that wick. You want to close the position at the top. You buy that wick and you be the hammer, especially on the inverted hammer. At the end of the day, you're going to see a hammer and you're going to be like, I totally traded the hammer. It's like, Caddyshack, right? Be the ball. Be the hammer. You don't want to be, if you know how to range trade this thing, this is where it pays off. All these false breakouts pay off. They clip the trees. You always get filled on your scalps and your swing trades too. But at the end of the day, are you going to pull, this is another thing, are you going to pull the cash out? I'm going to cash out everything at the end of the day. Even the swing trades got filled. The psycho breakdowns, this one was the psycho breakdown. At the end of the day, I'm out of that trade. At the end of the day, if I'm only up this amount of pips, we're out. We're going to go flat. I'm going to pull the take all profit. That's another thing. At the end of the day, I'm just going to take the all profits key. I'm not going to sit in a trade for 10 fucking days for this ride. It's not going to happen. I'm just saying. There's another trade out of 8 currencies. This is too grueling. This is too creeper gear. Maybe for buy limit scalps, right? Buy limit trend trades here, and this is why you only have 50. This is why I'm saying 50 pips on a trend trade, where is a swing trade, which is this, like like when you go swinging down like this, and you go up, you go swinging down, and then like this could swing around. So you have your swing trades in there. But at the end of the day, you could be actually back to the floor here. Certainly the first target's going to be obviously here. Trying to make 100 pips on these guys. Maybe 200, maybe 200 pips in one day, but you're waiting for the news to come out. You wait for them to spike it into here, and then you get that thing. And at the end of the day, people are just like, holy shit, what the fuck was... The wick's your friend, so the hammer, that's your friend. These flash crashes and these... and when it goes sideways, and ATR there, if you run any 25 pip stops, you have to be a little more clever. With a 25 pip stop is a 50, because a 50 you can be a little bit of a pig, get in on the trade, and get out at the end of the day, even though your targets weren't hit. So that's how this is going to run. And I don't know, hopefully I can get the thing linked up to either FX Book or that FX Blue. The EA for FX Book crashes MT4 when you close the platform, though. I don't know what the fuck's with their thing. And when you close the platform on FX Blue, you just get a clean close. But there are no comments posted in FX Book from the platform, but there are on Facebook. So whatever, if you call that the swing trade, or you call that in the comments section, to keep track of how many swing trades paid out, how many scalps paid out. Now here's where you do the spreadsheet garbage, right? You bring that in, and you're either gonna name them, like people name fish in a tank, or you're going to number them, tag them like a duck, because they put numbers on those ducks. They don't name ducks. I think they track these animals. They don't call. Well, that's Gerald the duck. Oh, we've got him listed here. He's been alive for, it looks like he's migrating. Yeah, we got a chart on that. We got data on that. Oh, let me look that up. Yeah, I got it. Wait a second, sir. We'll be right with you. So, anyways, that's the system. The current trade plan. Because we're going to change that next week to Ikamushu Cloud. Can you imagine cloud trading? I mean, can you imagine doing that? Waiting for setups on that cloud? Now, that's where you would need a 5-minute chart, because there's so much lag. Like, if you're ever really tempted to cloud trade, because it is pretty, let's face it, it's like going to the beach while trading, going in the clouds. It's like being in an airplane while trading. That if you run that on a 15-minute chart or a 5-minute chart, those are good entries. Like, it's going to get into the cloud. But if you're running the cloud on the daily, man, you're going to, and this zoomed in, you're like, God, I can't even see the fucking cloud. Like, where's the, I'm never going to get filled on this trade. I don't even know what the setup criteria is for that. Nobody's explained that to me properly. Not like I haven't tried to learn that too. It's beautiful. 3-hour seminar, and then I'm going to sell you the cloud indicator because I tweaked it. You don't understand. I'm a tweaker and I tweaked it. What kind of tweaker are you? I lined everything up in the room perfectly straight, and I'm scalping again. Oh, God. So, you should see my desk. I mean, I've actually got an air gun. There's a guy trading. I should post the video if I can find it as a link here. There's a guy who's trading in his house with his wife, and they did a 4K recording. He's got the hot wife, the nice house, and he's literally got an air blaster gun, one of those dust-off things. And his Forex trading desk is super clean and all like state-of-the-art, contemporary hard surface, and he's got the air gun, and he's blowing stuff. I'm like, wow, we got a situation here. This guy, and he's doing some decent trades, but he's kind of like, he reminds me of the first tape I saw of Paul Tudor Jones trading with his lucky tennis shoes on. And he's angrily buying into a plunge, going, buy more, fuck 'em, buy more. And he's swing trading, I think with even out a chart. He's just looking at quotes, and he's in a chair, and he's, I don't know if that video's still up on the, I should just put that in there too. Yeah, I'm going to put the dust off trader, and the Paul Tudor Jones wearing lucky tennis shoes and trading. Man. And now he's a complete liberal moron. No offense to liberal morons. I mean, you hear the guy he's like, let's just tax people to death. He was on, what's that thing? TED Talks. I was like, this is Paul Tudor Jones? Oh my God, it's like Steven Seagal. Like, dude, what happened to you? Wow. Yeah, Paul Tudor. The famous trader. Him and George Soros. Anyways, that's my 8 currency swing trader, scalperator, trend trader, swinger trader. Swing trading does not mean getting another couple to hang out with. I'm just saying.